podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And today I got the mail and I got a big old envelope and I opened it up and inside was a quarterly magazine for Vestibular Disorder Association, where I was on the cover. I am on the cover, and there's like a 3-page spread inside on my story. And I was like, huh. And I kind of smiled and I was like, that's impressive. Like, I'm super proud of myself. One of the goals that I had for myself this year was to get published in like 5 additional places or something like that. And I've already reached that goal, and it's only May. So that's exciting. And of course, the purpose of it is to share my story so that anybody who might be struggling and can relate will find support and maybe some direction for their own medical journey. And but when I posted it on Facebook today, I was like, well, it's not Time Magazine or Vogue, but I'll take it. So I am really proud of myself. And today I wanted to talk about finding strength in weakness. And what it made me think about is how when I first started at the company that I medically retired from 2 years ago, when I first started there, I came in as an individual contributor in the marketing department. And I immediately noticed some gaps at the company where I might be able to fill with my expertise in the area of digital marketing. So I immediately started preparing some stats and some reports on marketing and how we're doing online. And that was seen very quickly by executives. And then I was given the opportunity to continue to grow in ways where I was actually public speaking. I was sitting in a room with these executives. I think there was like 5 of them, maybe 6. And they were all men. And I was sitting in this room and I was supposed to educate them on where we stood in the realm of digital marketing. And the first time that I had the opportunity to do it, I remember my voice was shaking. I remember my face was shaking. That is an old issue that I had all the way back to public speaking in college when I took a public speaking class, where my face and my voice would shake. And I would get like my shoulders get really tight and I can't relax. Like I can't make it go away. And what I was thinking about today is that moment in time where I felt that incredible amount of vulnerability and weakness, and it was apparent to the people in the room, these important important people in the room, was it led to an incredible amount of unexpected growth. And growth in ways that I could have predicted and I could have never predicted. By being given that opportunity and then continuing to grow in that area of speaking to different size groups of people, I became more comfortable. I say that questionably because it took me a really long time to get to the point where my face wasn't shaking and my voice wasn't shaking. Prior to that, at the company that I worked for, let's see, before that, I worked for a family business, and then before that, I worked for the airlines, and I was in a reorg. I was told that I was going to be a trainer, and you can imagine my dismay, to say it lightly, that I was going to have to be public speaking. Like that was going to be my full-time job to do public speaking. Well, my entire record of public speaking was a mess because it started out with that class in college, and then I also signed up for some positions in the Greek system there that I had to speak, and it was always a mess. Like I felt like I wasn't good enough ever. It didn't matter how much knowledge I had over the people that were listening to me. I just felt like I wasn't smart enough and I wasn't good enough. I had imposter syndrome to be standing there. But with all of those times of feeling vulnerable and weak, I believe that is why I'm able to do the things that I'm doing now in recovery. It's interesting to look back and think um, where I thought I was headed all along. I wanted to end up being a VP at the last company that I was at. Like that was what I was shooting for. And uh, then everything just got uprooted, and I ended up here in this recovery journey. And I thought, I've given up everything, like everything is gone. And I'm starting to see, isn't that sad? It's been 4 years. I'm just starting to see how my experience in my career and in my relationships has helped me navigate spreading the word about my story. There is this pressure that I put on myself to appear strong and appear perfect. And yet that pressure that I put on myself is actually driving a wedge between the people that I want to reach, the people that I want to be able to relate to my story. If I try to, I curled my hair today. I thought about putting makeup on because I'm actually going on a dinner date with a friend. But I've talked to you guys about how I've been contemplating like getting all spruced up for my podcast so it came across more professional. And that's because I still have that internal pressure to appear strong and appear perfect and do this I don't know, the most professional way. But when I stop myself and I look at what this podcast, the point of this podcast, it is supposed to be the opposite. It's supposed to be real life. And even curling my hair is not real life. Real life is me coming on here and ugly crying, and showing my vulnerability. And then showing that even with this vulnerability and weakness, that I have breakthroughs and I have resilience. The the vulnerability that I keep exposing over the course of my career and now in recovery has been my greatest strength. I I was looking over here. I have this piece of paper on my desk that says "Seek first to understand, then to be understood." It was a fortune cookie. I thought what it was gonna say is the well-known phrase by Brene Brown about vulnerability, and I can't think of it right now. That's too much pressure. I can't think of it right now, but I was looking at it thinking that that's what that says. There's a very well-known quote by Brene Brown about vulnerability, and it goes somewhat like vulnerability is the birthplace of creativity, and she names a few more things. Vulnerability for me is like the gateway to growth. Um, I think that if I can approach a situation um, by creating like a safe place around me in order to share my story, um, I'm willing to get vulnerable. I'm willing to cry. Like, I'm willing to go into an online community or support group and talk about the hard stuff, to get vulnerable, because in doing that, I'm connecting with other people who may be struggling as well. Today, I went to my stroke support group meeting, and we were talking a little bit about mental health. And so I just came right out and shared that I'm seeing a psychiatrist because I continue to have this feeling of fear that, the other shoe is going to drop. I feel like all the shoes have dropped, so it doesn't even make sense to say that. But I feel like something else is going to happen. And I'm always just waiting for that. I'm waiting for whether it's me or it's one of my loved ones. It's like I just have this feeling that the next thing is going to happen and the next thing is going to be worse than the last. And that's not a great place to live. So I shared about that in my stroke support group meeting, and people can relate to that. I know that they can. And that's because I learned in my sobriety program that I'm not unique. And by sharing this kind of stuff and getting vulnerable, I'm hoping that it's coming across that I'm encouraging you or anybody else that I share with to find your own supportive community, whether it's online or offline. So, um, I think in the same way, our vulnerabilities also strengthen our relationships with each other, not just the communities that we go to, the stroke support group, the sobriety group fellowship, uh, vestibular recovery support group, but also in our families and our friends. Like, the more that I am able to share a little bit about, stuff that I wouldn't normally share on, I wouldn't walk down the street and just stop a stranger and tell them, hey, I go to a psychiatrist. They would be like, maybe you should call them right now. But like talking to my parents or my siblings about things that maybe we don't typically talk about, it seems to absolutely strengthen my relationship with them. And when I can give, nurture that relationship, then our family as a unit is stronger together. And it encourages them to reach out to me and share experiences that can promote their healing as well. So, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how, I didn't realize back then when I was sitting in front of those executives and I was sharing my expertise, quote unquote, with them, that it was going to lead me down a path of being able to tell my personal story. I was telling the story of the company from a marketing standpoint, and those experiences in storytelling have gotten me to the point where I am today. So I'm really excited that I was able to be published in this magazine. And I'm just going to continue to look for that gratitude in what has happened in my path that leads me to where I am today. And remember that when I do feel vulnerable and when I'm fearful, that probably means that there's a big, hopeful, and empowering message in that I can listen to and learn from. So thanks so much for listening today. I'm glad that I got through that. I was feeling a little challenged with my thinker today. It could also be, this is going to be TMI, but I'm just going to tell you anyway. I'm sitting in my office, sorry, my studio. I'm sitting in my studio and I walked in here. I took a shower, I curled my hair, I came into my studio and I sat down and I took a big breath and I'm like, something stinks in here. And I can't figure out what it is. And it's concerning. So that's another reason why I can't think clearly. So I'm going to go, I'm going to figure out what stinks. And it might just be that I'm going to steam clean the carpet unexpectedly. So, anyway, TMI, like I said, I warned you ahead of time. You could have hit stop, but you kept listening. So there you have it. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you tomorrow.